Everyone loves the idea of twins, the matching outfits, the double giggles, the rare magic of two lives growing side by side. Social media paints it as a dream, a picture-perfect miracle multiplied by two. But what if that image is only half the truth? What if behind every adorable photo lies exhaustion that words struggle to capture, decisions that never end, and a version of parenthood that quietly reshapes everything you thought you knew? This is not about discouraging dreams. It's about revealing what rarely gets said out loud. Because when the cameras turn off and the house finally goes quiet, the reality of raising twins begins to speak in. It tells a story most people are not prepared to hear. In this video, we are going beyond the surface and stepping into the unfiltered reality of parenting twins, the parts that don't make it into highlight reels or perfectly curated posts. This is about honesty, resilience, and the hidden emotional and physical weight that comes with raising two lives at the exact same time. If you're expecting twins, raising them, or simply curious about what it truly takes, this story is for you. And if you believe that real stories matter more than perfect ones, take a moment to subscribe, like, and share this video with someone who needs to see the truth behind the beauty. Because sometimes, the most powerful support begins with understanding what is rarely shown. The moment parents discover they are expecting twins often feels like stepping into a story already written by wonder and amazement, where people smile wider, voices grow louder with excitement, and every reaction seems amplified by the magic of two instead of one. Yet beneath that immediate celebration, something quieter begins to take shape, something less visible but deeply real. A subtle awareness that life will not simply double in joy but also in responsibility, uncertainty, and pressure. Because while the world sees a rare blessing, the parents begin to sense the magnitude of what lies ahead, a reality that cannot be captured in a single ultrasound image or a shared announcement, where every future plan suddenly shifts, every expectation stretches, and every assumption about parenthood begins to transform into something far more complex than originally imagined. As the pregnancy progresses, the attention from others continues to revolve around how special twins are, how unique the experience must be, and how lucky the parents must feel. Yet within that admiration there is often a missing piece, an absence of acknowledgement about the physical and emotional toll that comes with carrying two lives simultaneously, where fatigue becomes constant rather than occasional, where the body is pushed beyond what many expect, and where the mind begins to prepare for a reality that offers no pauses, no simple routines, and no clear roadmap. Because even before the twins are born, the parents are already navigating a version of life that demands more energy, more patience, and more resilience than most people around them truly understand. When the twins finally arrive, the initial moment is often overwhelming in ways that go far beyond joy, where love appears instantly but is quickly accompanied by a wave of responsibility so intense that it leaves little room for reflection, as everything becomes immediate, urgent, and continuous. Feeding schedules overlap, cries echo one after the other or sometimes at the same time, and sleep becomes fragmented into moments rather than hours, turning nights into a cycle of constant alertness, where the idea of rest becomes something distant, almost theoretical. And while others may admire the beauty of two newborns side by side, the parents begin to experience a reality where every second counts and every decision carries weight. Sleep deprivation becomes one of the most defining aspects of life with twins, not as a temporary challenge but as an ongoing condition that shapes thoughts, emotions, and physical strength, where exhaustion accumulates rather than resets, and the concept of catching up on rest slowly fades away, because there is always another feeding, another diaper change, another moment that requires attention. And in this continuous cycle, even the simplest tasks begin to feel heavier. As concentration weakens, patience is tested, and the ability to process emotions becomes limited, creating a space where parents must function, despite feeling drained, where they continue moving forward, not because they are fully capable, but because stopping is simply not an option. The emotional landscape of parenting twins often shifts in ways that are rarely discussed openly, where love is constant but is sometimes accompanied by feelings of overwhelm, guilt, and self-doubt, especially when attention must be divided and moments of connection feel shorter than expected. because giving everything to one child means temporarily stepping away from the other, creating an internal conflict that is difficult to resolve, where parents question whether they are doing enough, whether they are present enough, and whether they are meeting the needs of both children equally, even though the reality is that perfection is impossible, and balance becomes more about intention than precision. Financial pressure becomes another layer that quietly builds over time, where expenses are not just doubled but often multiplied in unexpected ways, from diapers and formula to medical care and childcare, where every necessity appears in pairs, and every decision about spending carries more weight, requiring careful planning and constant adjustment, because the margin for error becomes smaller, and the impact of every choice becomes greater, turning financial stability into a central concern that influences not only daily life but also long-term decisions, as parents navigate the challenge of providing for two children while maintaining a sense of security and control over their resources. Time, perhaps more than anything else, becomes the most limited and valuable resource, where even a few minutes of quiet can feel like a luxury, and where personal needs are often placed at the very bottom of an ever-growing list of responsibilities. Because caring for twins requires continuous attention, leaving little space for rest, hobbies, or even simple moments of solitude. And in this environment, parents often find themselves operating in survival mode, focusing on what must be done rather than what they wish they could do, gradually adapting to a rhythm that prioritizes necessity over comfort, and learning to find meaning in small victories rather than expecting large moments of relief. Relationships are also affected in subtle yet significant ways, where partners must navigate increased stress, limited communication, and shared exhaustion, often relying on teamwork more than ever before, yet sometimes struggling to maintain connection beyond the responsibilities of parenting. Because conversations shift from personal to practical, from emotional to logistical. And while the bond may grow stronger through shared challenges, it also requires conscious effort to preserve intimacy and understanding, as both individuals adjust to a new dynamic where their roles are constantly evolving and their energy is consistently being tested by the demands of raising two children simultaneously. Isolation can become an unexpected companion in the journey of parenting twins, where leaving the house requires planning and effort that often feels overwhelming, and where social interactions become less frequent, not due to lack of desire but due to the complexity of managing two infants at once, leading to a sense of distance from the outside world, where parents may feel disconnected from friends, routines, and even their previous identities, as their focus narrows to the immediate needs of their children, creating a space where support becomes essential, yet not always easily accessible in the way it is truly needed. The comparison with parents of single children can sometimes create an invisible divide, where advice that works in one context does not translate into another, and where well-intentioned suggestions may feel unrealistic or impractical, because the dynamics of raising twins introduce variables that cannot be simplified or reduced, requiring strategies that are flexible and often improvised, as parents learn through experience rather than guidance, adapting to situations that demand creativity, patience, and resilience, while navigating a path that is uniquely their own, shaped by circumstances that are difficult to fully explain to those who have not lived through them. As the twins grow, new challenges emerge that replace the initial struggles but do not necessarily reduce the overall intensity. Where mobility introduces risk, independence introduces conflict, and the need for attention continues to expand rather than stabilize, creating a dynamic where parents must constantly anticipate, react, and adapt, managing not only individual needs but also the interactions between the twins, which can range from cooperation to competition, adding another layer of complexity to an already demanding environment, where every stage brings new lessons but also new responsibilities that require ongoing engagement and effort. The identity of the parents themselves begins to shift in ways that are both subtle and profound, where personal goals, ambitions, and even perceptions of self are influenced by the demands of raising twins, leading to a redefinition of priorities and values as the focus moves from individual achievement to collective well-being. And while this transformation can bring a sense of purpose and fulfillment, it can also create moments of uncertainty, where parents question who they are outside of their roles, and how they can reconnect with parts of themselves that feel distant or temporarily set aside in the process of caring for their children. Despite the challenges, there are moments of connection that carry a depth and intensity that is difficult to replicate in any other context, where watching twins interact, support each other, and develop a bond that is uniquely theirs creates a sense of wonder that reminds parents why they continue to push forward, even when the journey feels overwhelming, because within the chaos there are glimpses of harmony, small yet powerful reminders that the effort, the exhaustion, and the sacrifices are part of something meaningful, something that extends beyond the immediate struggles and into a deeper understanding of love and resilience. The unshown side of having twins is not about diminishing the beauty of the experience, but about acknowledging the full spectrum of what it entails, including the parts that are difficult, uncomfortable, and often hidden behind smiles and photographs. Because only by recognizing these realities can parents feel seen, supported, and understood, rather than isolated by expectations that do not reflect their lived experiences, creating space for honesty, connection, and compassion, where the narrative of parenting twins becomes more balanced, more authentic, and ultimately more empowering for those who are navigating it. Breaking the romanticism does not mean removing the magic, but rather placing it within a context that is real and sustainable, where joy and struggle coexist, and where appreciation grows not from perfection but from perseverance, as parents learn to embrace both the highs and the lows, understanding that the value of their journey lies not in how it appears from the outside, but in how it is lived from within, with all its imperfections, challenges, and moments of quiet triumph that often go unnoticed but carry immense significance in the shaping of their experience. In this reality, strength is not defined by the absence of difficulty, but by the ability to continue despite it, where resilience becomes a daily practice rather than a distant concept, and where parents discover capacities within themselves that they may not have known existed, as they navigate a path that requires constant adaptation, unwavering commitment, and a willingness to grow beyond their limits, transforming challenges into opportunities for development, and gradually building a foundation of experience that supports not only their children but also their own evolution as individuals. The story of parenting twins is not a single narrative, but a collection of moments that range from overwhelming to deeply meaningful, where each day presents new variables, new emotions, and new opportunities to learn, reminding parents that while the journey may not align with idealized images, it holds a depth and richness that is uniquely its own, offering lessons that extend far beyond the immediate experience, shaping perspectives, strengthening character, and creating a legacy of resilience, connection, and understanding that continues to evolve with every step taken forward. The reality of parenting twins is not something that can be fully captured in pictures or explained in simple words, because it exists in the space between exhaustion and love, between chaos and meaning. It challenges expectations, reshapes identity, and reveals strengths that often remain hidden until they are needed the most. When the romantic image fades, what remains is something far more powerful, a raw, honest experience that teaches resilience, patience, and depth in ways few other journeys can. And perhaps that is the true beauty of it, not in perfection, but in the courage to continue, to adapt, and to grow within a reality that is as demanding as it is meaningful.